What's up, everybody? Sorry for you. It's Sid and Millie back with another video. What are we talking about today, Millie?
Today we're going to be chatting about the Monaco Grand Prix. We just finished watching it.
Yeah.
It was pretty entertaining, and obviously, as F1 fans, we felt like why not chat about it?
Yeah, of
So yeah, we're
course.
going to be chatting about the Monaco Grand Prix.
It was a
And
crazy one.
yeah, it
It
was
was kind of a
pretty.
crazy
Yeah,
race, not gonna
it was
lie.
nuts. So we'll kind of work our way backwards. First of all, phenomenal to see Lewis Hamilton on the podium once again. P2, another masterclass drive from Lewis, showing that
Yes.
not only does he still have the form, but he is still the GOAT. And yeah,
Truly.
and I mean, with what he's working with the Ferrari vehicle, I mean, still putting on performances like this, it speaks volumes. So yeah, it was great to see Lewis back on the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. Second place. We love
Yeah,
that
two
from
races
him.
in a row as well. So definitely showing that he is continuing to make strides in his Ferrari and with this
Definitely.
team. And that's exactly what we want to see. We want to see Lewis fighting for podiums, fighting for, fighting at the front of the pack, because that's what the GOAT does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, okay, and then so many things happened.
Yeah.
So many things happened. And
Yeah.
like, do we want to talk about the mass amount of penalties
Yeah.
that occurred?
Yeah.
And like, do we want to talk about all the stops, the safety
Oh
cars,
man.
and
Yeah. It was mayhem.
wow.
Honestly, mayhem. I mean, from the jump of the race, right? You're talking Max Verstappen on the front row versus Kimi Antonelli, Lewis right behind them, and Max Verstappen doesn't even get off the line. Like the Red Bull just won't even drive when the lights
No,
go out. So Max immediately out of the race.
immediately out of the race. That was crazy.
Dead like start. The start
Yeah,
already was like, what in the world?
I right. So I
Yeah.
mean, he literally didn't even get a lap in.
Yeah.
He literally was
Cooked.
started the race and
Yeah, cooked, which is funny
went to the
because
pit.
yesterday, in like the, post qualifying, like, conversation,
Hmm.
the commentator asked Max Verstappen and Lewis if they had any advice for Kimi, for Monaco. And Max's advice was to, at the start of the race, wait 1 second.
Wait one
Wait
second.
1 second at the start of the race. And then ironically, it was Max who failed to start and
Wow.
ended up waiting 1 second at the start of the race.
Oh my
So,
god.
so pretty crazy to see
That's
that play
actually
out.
super crazy knowing
Yeah.
that. Wow.
But then to your point, like, let's get into some of these penalties because it
Crazy.
caused absolute mayhem in the race.
So bad.
Something must have been going on with the sensor in the pit lane.
Yeah.
I just don't believe that there were 6 separate incidents of pit lane speeding infractions.
No.
I just don't believe that.
That just is so crazy because how is that possible?
How is
How do 6 separate drivers?
and one guy twice, Gasly?
Yeah, 2 times for one person.
Yeah,
How does that happen?
it was crazy. Yeah, that just didn't make sense.
And I
That
feel like they didn't really share too much detail on that. They didn't share like what the speed limit
didn't even
was
show us
and
the
how fast
replays.
they were going and
Literally.
like
Well, I
anything.
heard that Lewis's was by 0.1 of a second. That's how fast.
He
How.
was going like
Yeah. Like
wow,
barely speeding.
barely
0.1
1 mile
was
per hour
was
over.
his. Yeah. 0. Yeah. I mean, anyway, so a bit ridiculous, but thankfully that all worked out with the safety car, which is, kind of the next big things that were happening in the race were all of these safety cars. So we had Lance Stroll obviously go into the barrier. That caused the first safety
Yeah.
car, first like red flag, which really slowed down the race,
Mm-hmm.
and basically caused a lot of chaos in the in the outset.
Yeah. What did it cause? Like what were
Well,
some notable things that
well,
happened?
essentially, that was the instance where like Lewis came in to the pits to serve his 5 second time penalty, and
Okay.
Charles essentially waited behind him for new tires,
That's right.
and Charles was frustrated at that. But again, like from the Ferrari strat,
That's
yeah,
right.
that was like a whole thing. But a lot of people were ducking in and out of the pits at that
Mm-hmm.
moment. George Russell lost a place to Hadjar at that point, and also failed to serve his time penalty at that point, which got him in trouble later on in the race and inevitably
Right.
cost
Got
him.
another penalty for
Exactly.
not serving
I
his
know.
penalty properly.
Isn't that nuts? Yeah. So,
Wow.
and he ended up getting lapped by his teammate, which was also, I'm sure, a
Embarrassing.
rough one for
Yeah.
him. But then, yeah, essentially out of that pit stop, when we started going, we were following behind the virtual safety car again. And before the virtual safety car tucked in, another yellow flag
That's
because Charles
right.
Leclerc ran into the barrier.
Charles.
Yeah, it was a rough
Whole
day.
race
We
and
were,
everything.
I know. Well, we were potentially looking at a Ferrari 2-3. 2 podium positions would have been phenomenal points for Ferrari.
Truly.
And at the end of the day, and yeah, it was really sad, heartbreaking even to see Leclerc go into the wall, especially when it was something where in the replay you see Leclerc turning his steering wheel. Which means it's not the driver's fault. If the driver is turning the steering wheel and the car is not reacting.
I mean, you could see the wheels even turning in the front, and then it just kept going forward.
Yeah, so not really sure what happened there. I know Charles said that there were potentially upgrades that he didn't want to do right before Monaco because he wanted to have that little bit of familiarity with especially on his home circuit. But so there's a little bit of risk versus reward there, and I think it was just unfortunate that happened to him.
Yeah,
and I think inevitably, whenever the race loses its momentum because of a virtual safety car, stuff like that can happen.
Right, and then what came off the back of that?
Essentially, that one is I can't remember. I want to say it was Charles that caused the race to stop. Right, it was that one.
Yes.
So basically full race stop.
Full stop for 20 minutes.
Yeah, because I mean, all the race completely stopped. All drivers got out of their cars.
Out of the cars. They were stretching, icing.
Yeah, fully parked up in the pit lane. That was nuts. It was like a 20-minute intermission. It felt like halftime.
Yeah, no, literally. And I'm like, I don't even know how far some of the racers got. It was so funny. They showed Lewis scooting back to his car, just zooming by
hysterical.
On a scooter through the crowd.
Wow.
I'm sure.
We'll have to see. I'm sure someone found
that was pretty funny.
That is hysterical. But yeah, that one caused a huge, massive stoppage of the race. There was damage to the track itself, which they didn't really fix despite the stoppage. They really just swept the area of the track.
And it took so long.
Took so long. Yeah, they've got to find out a better system. I mean, for a sport that makes this much money, I personally believe the FIA could afford to invest more in more stewards and more equipment that can be on standby at this races to really commit to keeping that race momentum going.
That's true.
And not allowing for these massively long stoppages. They've got the money for it.
Invest
in full-time stewards and invest in more trackside assistance vehicles that can get us back up and running quicker. I think.
Yeah, they have to.
They should. Yeah.
It just. I know they also have to obviously give the racers a certain amount of time to get back in their car. I'm sure, and get the cars over to where they're starting.
Definitely.
And
but can we not even get to that point?
Right.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't take so long to just clean up the track to get them back into their cars,
100%. Yeah. And they didn't fix the track, so the racers were still driving on said unsafe condition for the remainder 8 laps.
Right. And then they started back up finally
and after then, 20 minutes.
And then not even 1 lap into this. What happened again?
Well, I mean, George Russell was being a bit diabolical. He was kind of backing up the pack. Lewis and Antonelli took off and they were gone down track. George was kind of backing everybody up. I think he kind of knew he had the penalty. I think he was salty about it and was just like, hey, I'm in third now. I'm going to
slow everyone down.
So yeah, he slows the pack down, and then going around the turn, there was just a lot of wiggling and maneuvering, and essentially it was Nico Hülkenberg who ran into Carlos Sainz originally and pushed Carlos Sainz into the wall. And then as Carlos Sainz got going again, someone else hit him around the turn and spun him out right before the tunnel.
Oh my God.
So by the time we saw the replay, Carlos Sainz was facing the wrong direction on the track, and then he just said bump it. He just drove off.
Just went back to the pits and
I don't think he even went back. I think he just drove off to there was an offshoot over there. I think he just drove off the offshoot
and said someone's gonna come get my
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. And then it was 2 laps
of another virtual safety car. Or another full safety car. It was it was just nuts. Another huge stoppage, more laps were burning, and of course that created a lot more tension because everybody had a penalty. Everybody and their moms had a penalty. There was 10, I don't know, maybe 7 pending penalties
So
waiting
many.
on the side of the board for the race to end
Crazy.
anyway.
Oh my God.
And obviously Hadjar still has that investigation for the red flag
Right,
infringement. So we'll
yeah.
see if they punish him for next race or if they take away his podium today.
For today.
Hopefully not. I think punishing a racer post haste is kind of ill. I think,
and like taking away their place in the
right,
race after
yeah.
they already accepted the like
already did the celebration on the
that would
podium.
just
Like,
be,
come on, guys,
that's
just give
kinda
it to
dirty.
him.
Yeah,
You know?
just let him have it. Punish him next time.
Yeah,
Punish him next
exactly.
time.
Give him a
little,
5-second, you know, or something.
Force him to start in the pit lane or something.
Yeah, well, fuck.
that's really
that's next race gone, man. But anyway,
I didn't think that was that bad. But fair enough.
But yeah, I think overall it was a pretty entertaining Monaco. I think usually Monaco, you know, it can get a little bit monotonous. It's basically wherever you qualify is where you end, in the sense of there isn't a lot of opportunities for passing or maneuvering in Monaco. I think we saw maybe 2 or 3 passes that happened in race, but most of it was like, you know, pit stop maneuvering and strategy and stuff like that.
But just like the track itself, I think, is entertaining because it's so like tight and you know,
exactly.
I don't know, it's Monaco.
So I know.
And
I mean,
has that air to it.
Facts. And I mean, for us personally, we were in Monaco a couple years ago. What, 2023 now or 24?
24.
24. We were in Monaco, and just
25?
going down. Was it 25? It was 25. Wow. Okay, so last year in Monaco when we were there, we were you know, kind of pre-blessing the track for Hamilton, and you know, I don't want to say it paid off, but I'm really glad that we went down to the track and talked to it and told it to be nice to Lewis. And yeah, it's just great to see that happen. I think, man, it's been so fantastic seeing him get back into this momentum. He's, oh, bless you.
Excuse me.
He's ditched the simulator. He's focusing truly on like the track feel and what he feels when he gets in the car. And I think it's making all the difference nowadays. You know, I think the new technology is helpful in some degree for sure, but I think nothing really can replace the feeling of just getting behind the wheel and driving the car.
That's very true.
And so, yeah, just fantastic to see Lewis continuing to regain his form and keep showing who we know he is, you know. And I think as soon as Ferrari bring those upgrades and close that power gap to Mercedes, you know, this championship could be turned on its head pretty quickly. George is obviously slipping down the pack. He's in a rough form. The Ferrari upgrades are coming for next race in Spain. So I think, you know, we could potentially see something a little bit different for the rest of this championship. But,
that would be interesting.
You know, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I'm feeling, you know, pretty positive. And I think the positivity coming from like Lewis is also kind of giving me that insight with someone of his caliber feeling more positive. I think it's insinuating that better things are to continue to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that energy. Let's keep that energy.
100%. So yeah, I think overall it was a really interesting Monaco. They brought the penalties out. That was probably the most penalties I've ever seen in a Formula One race.
Wow,
I mean,
it was crazy.
Yeah, it was almost too much. But I guess it kept it entertaining, kept everybody on their toes. Couple crashes. There were tons of people who didn't finish. Max Verstappen, Lando Norris struggling with reliability issues of his engine once again. And yeah, I think, you know, the F1 season is really starting to heat up. Obviously, Kimi Antonelli is way out in front, enjoying his time and won Mercedes. But at the end of the day, for a team to win the Constructors' Championship, you really need 2 cars in the race. So at the end of the day, for the Constructors, I think the Constructors' Championship is a little bit more up in the air, even if the Drivers' Championship isn't quite as up in the air. But again, needless to say, we'll see. It's a long season. We'll see if Mercedes can maintain this momentum and see if Antonelli can continue this great run of form, because I think that's 5 wins in a row for him.
I think they
5
said
or 6.
5.
It was 5. Yeah. So, I mean, absolutely fantastic from him. I'm sure he's got to be elated.
Yeah, and I think they said he was the 3rd Italian to win
at Monaco ever. Yeah. So that, I mean, the kid is unbelievable. He's doing some great work, and it's cool to see. So really it's on Mercedes to lose the championship for him this season, because I think the driver has shown that he has the ability.
He's hungry.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of potential. It's still a long season. We're only 6 races in, I think. So 6 or 7, whatever.
Some races.
But regardless, long season to go. But, you know, at the end of the day, fantastic to see Lewis on the podium. P2 in the big points, second place in the driver's standing. And yeah, I think the GOAT is finding his momentum, and let's see what else is to come.
See what he puts up.
Yeah. So those were our thoughts on the Monaco. Those were our thoughts on the Monaco Grand Prix.
If you made it this far,
thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Peace.
Bye.